2024. The invocation will be provided by First Presbyterian Church Pastor Kyle Schmidt. The Pledge of Allegiance will be Commissioner Mylon Blake. Please stand for the invocation.
Chairman Cry, I'm first going to address this to you before we start praying. I am used to, this is my first meeting where we've prayed before the allegiance, and so I was thrown off by that. But I'm glad that you all have seen the light. I don't know whose doing it was, I don't know how controversial it was, but may we all come to the Lord.
If I may add, it wasn't controversial. After elbowed me, that God should come first. Have God first.
Fantastic. Well, let us pray, please. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the life that you breathe into our lungs that allows us to live a new day. Lord, your word tells us that if we need knowledge, we pray and that you will give knowledge. So, Lord, my prayer is that you would fill the minds of those men and women who serve, that the decisions that we make would be of you. I pray where there is controversy and division, that you would sow community and love and togetherness. Pray, Lord, where there is opposition, that you would have people come together as one. We pray for unity in the midst of this ever-changing world. May your Spirit descend upon us, fill us, guide us, strengthen us. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll now have the roll call. Please call the roll.
Alford. Here. Cry.
Here.
Blake. Here. Collins. Here. Gilbert. Here. Thompson. Here. Goins.
Here.
Slater.
Here.
Mason.
Here.
Ledford.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Winters.
Here.
Beatty.
Here.
Hughes.
Here.
It's 13 present and 1 absent.
Thank you. We'll now entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So move.
Second. Commissioner Thompson on the second. Goins on the motion. Any discussion? No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater. Yes. Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you. We'll now go to the mayor for a report from the county mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. I have two resolutions that are not on your agenda that I'll be asking, hopefully, for your approval tonight. The first one you have in front of you that was passed around, it's authorizing us to negotiate an agreement with Cedar Recovery of Middle Tennessee, LLC, for the provision of mental health counseling services to Bradley County first responders. This is a contract that replaces a company that replaces a contract we already have in place because they went out of business or whatever. But anyway, we need to replace them with this new company. So that's what this resolution authorizes me to do, is to contract with Cedar Recovery of Middle Tennessee.
Do I have someone that will make Commissioner Winters and Commissioner Hughes on the second? Open for discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
a quick note that this has already been appropriated with the 75,000 that from the opioid. We've already put it in a budget, so there's the money's already part of it.
Okay.
You know, I think we contracted with two companies, and one of them is being replaced with this company.
Anyone else with any questions or remarks? Discussion closed. Call the roll, please.
Alford. Yes. Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson. Yes. Goins.
Yes.
Slater. Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'll pass around another resolution. Brittany Hopkins is here tonight she's the director of the Bradley County Health Department. This resolution authorizes us to enter into a commercial lease agreement with Bridge Property Management Group for property located at 2825 West Side Drive. They're going to be having a tremendous amount of renovations going on at the health department over the next year, and the state has agreed to pay for this lease. We have to do the lease, and they'll give us the money for it, but they've agreed to pay for the year's lease that would be needed for them to move out so that the renovations can occur. And Brittany's here if you want to add to that, or she's here to answer questions.
Brittany, you, please, if anyone has any questions for Brittany. You're very,
They have a line in their budget that we normally return to the state, and they will be sending us a letter saying that we'll be able to keep the amount of money it costs for this lease, which is $36,000 a year. It's a 1-year lease with renewals.
do I have someone that will make the motion? Commissioner Mason will make the motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Hughes on the second. Open for discussion.
So how long do you think this renovation will take?
That's a Brittany question. I'm hoping a year, but we have renewals in case it goes into the second year, right?
Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers? No, anyone else? Discussion closed. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson. Yes. Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you, appreciate that. You have a list of appointments that has come around that, they're my appointments, but they require confirmation from this body. So I respectfully ask that your confirmation of the Adult Oriented Establishment Board, Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Council, the Employee Safety Committee, and 1 appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Do I have anyone that would like to make the motion? Commissioner Goins on the motion and Commissioner Winters on the second. We're open for discussion, please. There being no discussion, call the roll, please.
Alford. Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson. Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Now, this is not a resolution, no action's actually needed, but I did promise to bring back to you the design for the disc golf at the park on Menace Road. Justin Spears is here this evening. That's who we contracted with to design it. He'll also be responsible for the project management as it goes on. If you look at the map that, as it gets around, I'll wait just a minute. It's an 18-hole golf course, I guess you would call it, disc golf course. And this map shows the property on Menace Road. It shows you how it does not interfere with the ball field, the ball complex, and it does not interfere in any way whatsoever with the school and the school's expansion. The school expansion one day probably would go to the rear, which would be to the right of your picture, but it would be going backwards from the front of the building. So this golf course doesn't interfere with any of that, and it also leaves space for that miracle course if it ever happens one day also. Any questions about any of that or comments? Anything on? If you want to, Justin is here that he can talk in more detail with you for it if you want him to, or he can answer questions.
Commissioner Winters, but
Will Parks and Recreation take care of this? Or will some of the group need to?
As far as mowing, yes, they really already all are, so it won't be any additional mowing, I don't think. Basically, there'll be some paths made and then the baskets installed.
Commissioner Thompson, please.
I was totally against this, but I went to the mayor's office. He had the map drawn up, and we went over it, and it's not going to affect. Looks like the expansion of Parkview School. If we had to have the expansion there, it won't affect that. So I'm 100% for it.
Oh, my goodness. Should we call the medics?
Great. That's a major accomplishment right there. Howard, Commissioner Thompson put me in the news too much that week, and I really appreciate that. I do, Howard. A couple of things as to remind you, we did get the $10,000 grant that you amended into the budget that was used for the design and for the project going forward. We're selling whole sponsors also, and we've been verbally approved of another $10,000 grant from Cleveland Utilities /TVA. So there'll be more amendments coming of money, outside money. There definitely won't be any tax money used on this. And I think it will be something that a lot of people will really appreciate and enjoy in time, for sure.
Can we
Over
have
here,
Commissioner
Mr.
Thompson cut the ribbon and throw the first disc? Is that possible?
I'm sure they'd be glad for him to.
You can throw the first one.
I'll be there.
You can throw out the first one.
Commissioner Blake, please.
Real quick, Mayor, who's gonna handle the sign? I'm sure this is gonna be so popular, there's gonna be a line a mile long to get to play. Who's gonna, like the pickleball, they had to actually sign up to get to play, or?
Justin, if you would come on up, that would be a question for Justin. And also while he's walking up, if you look at the map at the top where it's got 1 and 2, that's where the parking lot would be, and that's where they would start, and they would actually make sort of a messed up circle and end up close to where they started at. But answer his question if you can on
Scheduling.
the sign-up sheet to
Sure.
play.
Disc golf typically does not have scheduling,
Oh.
while you will find the park at Fletcher Park course is busy all the time. There were no less than 30 people playing it at a time all day Sunday this week, and you'll find it full to the brim every weekday after 5 p.m. You'll see people there on their lunch breaks. But it's large enough, and people play in groups, so there aren't really sign-up times.
Okay.
However, having a second course in town will allow us to have more room for players who are not signed up for competitive tournaments at one or the other course, because we do host those from time to time with the Cleveland Disc Golf Club, which I'm very proud to have several members of the club with us. Our club had 49 people in January and has 932 today. And the numbers of disc golfers in this town, you would not believe it. The Fletcher Park course has had visitors from 35 states so far, has been played over 7,700 times on the UDisc scoring app alone, which they estimate is about 20%. The numbers we're seeing is great, but it's just about time for another course to help us not have those backups.
So you anticipate hosting state or Southeast Tennessee, tournaments and
Absolutely.
stuff?
We've already had regional tournaments, and they've been full to the brim every time.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Winters.
Could you tell us how you play?
Yes. So if you're familiar with the traditional game of golf,
Yeah.
it works very much
Some of us
the
not
same
play.
way. You have a course which typically has 9 to 18 holes. That course will have a tee pad and a target. Instead of a hole in the ground, you have a metal basket with chains hanging so the disc can actually be caught in the air from a great distance and fall in. It uses much of the same terminology. You have your par on every hole. You have birdies. You have eagles. All of the same language is the same. One of the key differences is that it is far more affordable. So your average citizen can play this. I can buy a new driver for $15 as opposed to $350.
Is a driver there? A driver is the disc is larger.
Yeah, so
Like-
we're all
like a
familiar
driver?
with the traditional Frisbee. The man who actually had the patent on the Frisbee, Ed Hedrick, developed the Professional Disc Golf Association in 1976. It has over 200,000 members right now, and there's an estimated 4 million players in the world, and it's just been growing at an alarming rate. He wanted to expand. Whammo actually let him go when he proposed disc golf, and he went and started developing his own discs. I carry 28 of them in my bag when I play. There are putters, there are mid-ranges, there are drivers, and they all have different numbers that go different directions. It's quite a lot of fun, actually.
How do you putt?
How do you putt? Very carefully. No, the putter actually most resembles your typical Frisbee. And just stand back, let her rip, and you want to hear those chains clink.
Commissioner Rogers and then Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, you made mention that there will be hole sponsors that are going to be sold, I guess, for signage out there. Any idea how much one of those sponsorships
We've
would
got
cost?
some already sold, don't we, Adam? Do you?
We've got some verbal commitments, but we've not finalized anything yet.
Is there a price on it? Because I'm sure Grant will probably write an article about Commissioner Thompson's change of heart on this, and I figured it might be a good idea to put the price of these hole sponsors. Maybe some local businessmen might want to jump in on it.
You want me to answer that?
Go for it.
Okay, we'll be asking $1,500 per hole. That can be a single sponsor or up to 3. And that will cover the baskets, the tee pads, benches, and signs.
Very good.
Commissioner Thompson, please.
Yeah, Commissioner Winters was asking how you play that. I tell you one thing, you don't play it with a golf ball and a club.
You do not.
You have to play it with a Fred.
Although, as I've been designing, I've seen plenty of golf balls out there, so somebody's had that idea.
Yes, sir.
Question. Basically, this is a sponsored event from the Recreation Department. Is that true?
I don't know what you're asking.
Well,
me.
I'm asking because the Recreation Director's never been here to talk about any of this stuff. Is he on board with this? And
Yes, he's agreeable for this to be added to the park. Like we said before, it's an area of the park that it's really, we have no use for it as far as a baseball field or a softball field, and most of it was having to be mowed anyway, so we're just utilizing some space, and yeah, he has no problem. He's not here asking because this gentleman is the one that's taking on the management of getting it built and in place, so all he'll have to do then is go forward with the maintaining of it after it's finished, I guess you would say.
because looking at these discs, I've been out to Fletcher Park, by the way. Those around the concrete slabs look like there'd be a lot of weed eating here eventually.
Yes.
You know. But my next question, you talked about all these big tournaments and things. I'm sure there's an entry fee for all these tournaments.
Yes, sir.
Who is going to get that money?
Well, there typically is not a lot of extra overhead. So with the tournament entry fees, a lot of that goes back to players for payout. So there are cash prizes for that. There would typically be a small stipend paid to the tournament director, who would oversee a lot of just the organizing and the gathering of volunteers. And I know a lot of times cities or counties will actually charge a small fee for a tournament to be hosted on their property.
That's my point. I think that needs to be worked on and negotiated out with somebody about these tournaments, because
Right.
I realize the tournaments at softball fields are astronomically profitable
Yes,
to the director, not
Right.
necessarily Bradley County.
sure.
So, Mayor, I would like that we would have some kind of negotiation with whoever's going to run the thing.
Yeah, so
And
typically
have a
we've been running
contract,
them.
have a contract in place that we rent X amount of money or get X amount of money for rental of the property or whatever, you know. I
Absolutely.
just think we need some kind of contract written and agreed to for tournaments and concessions and anything else where there's money going to be involved.
Sure.
Commissioner Blake.
Real quick, you're at the design stage, I assume, right now.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, but when do you anticipate, opening day?
I
So-
believe we could have this open in a matter of 3 months, June at the latest.
June at the latest, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else, please? Yes, go ahead.
The $1,500 sponsor, where's that money going to go?
That goes to the actual paying for the concrete tee pads
Okay.
and the baskets and the signage.
Okay, thank you.
And understand from the mayor, there's no action required on voting or anything.
No, there's no need to. I just wanted to make sure y'all understood, and if you had any issues with any of it, more than likely on the sponsors, it would go through the county. In other words, it would come to you as a form of an amendment where you would accept the money, put it in a line like you did the grant, and then we would actually be paying to do those things, but with that money.
Commissioner Thompson, please.
I want to make a motion, we put it out there.
Second.
We We have a motion from Commissioner Thompson. I didn't think we needed a vote, but we're gonna have one. So we got a second from Commissioner Rogers, open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Alford,
Point of order, what are we voting?
you voting on Commissioner Thompson's?
I mean, it's already signed, it's already approved that.
How about I made the motion?
Okay, what's the motion?
Why don't you,
Cord out there.
why don't you say something to the effect of motion to approve the design and to move forward with the project?
I'll
Second.
All right, we've got an amended thing, but it's made by Commissioner Thompson, seconded by Commissioner Rogers. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alford,
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake,
Yeah.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater, Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent. If I may say one more thing. As we begin immediately, I'll be out there tomorrow to build this course. We would love to invite you to a pop-up course. I'll bring some temporary baskets out to the course on March 9th, and we would love to have you in attendance and see what this is all about. You'll have a great one.
I'm gonna want an NIL agreement.
Thank you very much. That's the mayor. Is that all, Mayor?
Yes.
All right, now. All right, we're going to consent agenda, pages 3 through 37. I'd like to have a motion on approving the consent agenda by Commissioner Rogers on the motion and Commissioner Thompson on the second. We're open for discussion. There being no discussion, call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
Thank you. We'll now go to the reports from committees and our districts. We'll start on our right with Commissioner Beatty.
Everything's doing pretty well in our area right now.
Great, Commissioner.
No complaints.
Commissioner Hughes, please.
Mr. Chairman, believe it was last week, we had a meeting with Republic at the landfill. They done a tour of the community, or with the community, citizens there. They had explained how they went into an agreement with TDEC on the amount of sludge they take in a day. It's 4 truckloads a day, which is considerable amount, but it's much less than what could have been. But they are doing much better, I must admit that. They are trying to work with citizens around there, or around that area, to help any issues that may come up. So with that, I have nothing else.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to Commissioner Alford, please.
Yes, I've got a couple of things. First of all, District 2 is doing fine. A couple of announcements. The Audit Committee will meet March 20, 11 a.m. here in the Commission Room. Also, I'd like to place to vote, Mr. Chairman, the Sheriff's Office recently informed me that Lieutenant Zeke Pike, I get it, will retire February 9 after more than 20 years of service in Bradley County. Lieutenant Pike satisfies the requirement for our retiring deputy service weapon policy. You all have a copy of the letter from the sheriff requesting the weapon be released to Lieutenant Pike upon his retirement. I move to approve this request and release the service weapon to Zach Pike upon retirement February 9. I place that in form of a motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Slater on the second, open for discussion. Discussion closed. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
Thank you. Is that it, sir?
I had one other thing,
Yes, sir.
just a question, I guess. Is these committees, Mayor, that you appoint, like saying the Board of Zoning Appeals and so forth, is that names of those folks on our website? Because the other day, someone asked me, and I said, I'm not sure, but I will ask. But none of these appointed things that are on our website, so people can't look up, see who's on the, Board of Zoning Appeals, for example.
The answer to your questions, it's not, but I don't. For example, all they have to do is call the planning office and ask who the members are. I mean, it's not like it's a secret, but
No, I'm not, I'm just asking, someone asked me why they're not on there, so I'm just asking a question from them, you know.
I don't have
Most
an
people
answer.
nowadays look up stuff on the web anyway, they don't necessarily call the planning.
Well, I don't have an answer for you as to why they're not. They're not.
It could easily be added.
Okay, thank you.
We
They,
add-
they were on there before we went to the new web page. They used to be on there. Every member of every committee appointed by the commission and appointed by you.
I think from memory what the problem was is they were constantly outdated because there's one member appointed tonight and then it just wasn't staying updated. So I believe that was the discussion that was had at that time rather than to have an outdated one. But I don't know.
Adam, can we add that to the website?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I wouldn't, can I ask a question about that? If I remember correctly, under our website agreement that we agreed to, that we would have regular changes to the website, but there would also be a fee to have them update that. So would there be a cost to us paying, like every time there was a new appointment and we needed to go in there and change it, would there be a cost to?
No.
Not now.
Listen, full disclosure, Lori and I just got tired of keeping it updated. So we, not really. The issue was that it was not always accurate. So it was not added to the first version, and so we agreed at the time it could easily be added at no fee if we wanted to do it again.
More sunshine we have, the better for the public. All right. Go ahead, sir. All right. We're through with that. Commissioner Blake.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I got a few things. Mr. Chairman, the Broadband Initiative Ad Hoc Committee will meet at 10:30 this Wednesday, February 7th, here in the commission room, basically to get an update on where some of the vendors are and kind of where we are going to go in the next couple of months. As you know, the ARP money has to be appropriated by the end of August. Might as well go ahead and say the end of June because we'll want to put it in our 24-25 budget. So Ad Hoc Committee this Wednesday, February 7th. Also, Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee met earlier today and voted a number of recommendations. First, Finance voted unanimously to recommend 4 projects recommended by HCI. City of Charleston, ball field bleachers, Greenway Field Hour Branch Trail, Museum Center at 5 Points, update to audio, Tri-State Exhibition Center, HVAC request. The HCI committee recommended a 5th recipient, the Caring Place, but we have a few questions prior to moving it through for approval. Lori's going to look into that. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to motion to accept the HCI recommendations.
Do I have a second, please? Commissioner Goins on the second. We're open for discussion. No discussion. Close. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, Finance Committee voted to approve the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget calendar. It's that time of the year where we start our budget process. You have a hard copy of the calendar before you, right here. Please note the budget calendar provides for the mayor to submit to the county commission office his budget proposal by the close of business Friday, May 31st. If you would, look at your budget calendar, you'll see what I just was referring to there on May 31st, 2024. And also, at the very last item on this sheet, on 6/28/2024, these are the 2 changes. if this calendar is approved, or when this calendar is approved, the full commission will vote in the budget through resolution on that Friday. Typically, we have a Monday county commission meeting. We voted in. That meeting will substitute for the following Monday. So we'll meet that Friday at noon, but we will not meet the following week with this budget calendar. This will allow us to have our budget approved by the end of the year and from a budget point of view. Mayor, I think we said this in finance, this will be the first time that I remember us getting it done this way. So we'll give it a try. So with that, I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to adopt the 24-25 budget preparation calendar. Put that in a form of motion. Thank you.
Commissioner Winters on the second. We're open for discussion. Now, let's get the meeting straight. We're gonna meet on a Friday instead of the following 4th of July on a Monday on that 4th of July week. So we'll still be meeting the same number. We're just gonna switch the dates. Discussion, please. There be no discussion. Close. Call the roll, please.
Alford,
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, the Finance Committee voted to recommend appropriating from the commission line item 599, $10,381.23 for the installation of two 75-inch monitors. One on here, that one's going to be replaced here in the commission room, and update the computer system. I place this in form of motion. Thank you.
Do I have a second, please? Commissioner Hughes on the second. Open for discussion. No discussion. Discussion closed. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson. Goins.
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Mr. I'll just be curious to know what Commissioner Thompson NIL agreement is going to be to go out there and play Frisbee golf.
We get a commission so we can put a big name out there. There we go.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll now go to Commissioner Collins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple things real quick, and I think Vice Chairman Winters will talk about this, but thank you to Legal and Legislative for approval of the policy for the signage regarding our surplus property sale. I think that's a good addition to policy. And also thank you to my counterpart in the city, David May, for his work today. Had some citizens in our district call about a culvert clean out, and I appreciate him and Jonathan Job and our partners in the city being so readily available to help with that. So thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Winters, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This past week, the school systems, the leadership of the school systems met before the public and shared a concern. I think it's something for us all to deal with. Media was present. They shared to the public the challenge of vaping in our schools. The statement was made that there are 1,600 students in America every day that begin vaping. 1,600 a day that begin vaping. And the challenges in our school is what's being put into the vape areas, what's being put in there, besides just the nicotine that's a challenge in itself. So I really commend our superintendent of schools in the county and our interim assistant superintendent for bringing that to the attention of the community. The most precious possession we have in Bradley County is our kids. How many grandparents are in this room? I'm one. I don't want my grandchildren to think it's the coolest thing in the world, put vaping on a dab pen, and somebody's already put in that dab pen fentanyl. We don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen for marijuana to be put in there. So commending them on what they've done. It's going to be a parental challenge. All of us have been sold a bill of goods that is a whole lot better than just smoking. But in reality, what's being put in there by adults, folks, are things that you won't take and things that I won't take. So we need to commend them and do our work. Mr. Chairman, the Legal Legislative Committee met this last week. We discussed Commissioner Collins's request to include for sale signs on property offered for sale by the county. We voted unanimously to recommend adopting a resolution that include on-site signage in addition to the legal notice. You each have a hard copy of a resolution adding on-site signage to surplus property procedures. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the Legal Legislative Committee recommendation to approve this resolution as presented.
Do I have a second, please? Second. Commissioner Thompson on the second. We're open for discussion.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. So anyway. Okay. Right. Thank you.
That's satisfactory. We'll withdraw that then. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all I have.
Oh, well, that's all you had? Okay, great. We'll move on to Commissioner Thompson, please.
Nothing else, Mr. Chairman. I've got my golf course. That's all I want.
It'll be like the Masters. Commissioner Goins, please.
This district's doing well except for Inman Street, so I don't know how long that's gonna be before they get that. About
Probably.
8 years.
Yeah, this service plan's 8 years or 7 years.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Slater, please.
I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Mason.
Mr. Chairman, the road committee will meet at 1 p.m. on February the 22nd at the road department. They have some, as y'all remember, we got some new equipment for the road department for us to check out. I'd like to invite the mayor and all y'all down that day. The community's invited also to come down. I have people all the time come up to me and say, hey, what's the road department doing? You never see them. Well, it's a good chance you may not see them because there's 800 square miles in this county, so it's tough. And I'd like to close with thanks to Chief Jeff Stewart. Went Friday night, wonderful banquet they had out there to honor some of the Bradley County Fire and Rescue men and women. Very deserving awards. Me and my wife were headed home, flipped on the radio, and Denny Collins was on calling the ball game. So, and he did an awesome job too. That's all I have, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, what was the date? You had 1 p.m. and what was the date?
1 p.m., February the 22nd.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chairman.
We'll now move along to Commissioner Ledford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too went to the fire banquet, and those guys serve our county well. They're very deserving of the awards that they got. Also went week before last to the chamber banquet. I want to thank the chamber for putting that on, and some of our, I think Steve Hartline won an award, Mr. Card won an award. So that's our entrepreneurs of Bradley County, ones that helped keep us going here. I'd also like to thank TDOT, Mark Brantley, the sign guy. I had a few constituents on South Lee Highway complaining about deer down there, and they wanted some deer crossing signs. So I called Mark Brantley, and in 2 days he had those signs up down South Lee Highway, so to keep our public safe. I also have two constituents here tonight, Mr. Whaley and Mr. Woodward, Paul. They're wanting to speak on the SPCA, and they said they'd do so at the end of the meeting, if that's all right. And I'd like to congratulate Cleveland High School wrestling boys and girls. I think they won a state championship or something of the sort. And other than that, Mr. Chairman, I think that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're going to speak at the end of the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Now we'll move along to Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report tonight.
Great. All right. Now we'll move along to unfinished business. We'll move along to the approval of the agenda. I'd like Commissioner Hughes made the motion. I need a second, please. Commissioner Goins on the second. Call the roll, please.
Alford,
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins,
Yes.
Slater. Yes. Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
Thank you very much. We'll now move along to agenda item A, Vice Chairman Commissioner Bill Winters.
Here's my resolution. Okay. I'd like to move that we confirm the Legal Legislative Committee's recommendation to send a letter and the information receiving from citizens regarding the election office to the Election Commission and the State Election Commission office. See pages 38 through 39. This is the action that our committee took earlier to actually move from this body to the Election Commission. This was not, as the paper put, to directly be at the director. It's basically moving all the information that we have for their review to that fine committee that's appointed by the state. So I make this in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second, please? Commissioner Goins on the second. We're open for discussion, please. There be no discussion. Discussion closed. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and one absent.
Thank you. Agenda item B, that would be Commissioner Cindy Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution approving a legal service contract with attorney James F. Logan Jr. and the law firm of Logan Thompson, P.C. with respect to the prosecution of any legal claim against manufacturers of insulin and other diabetic medication, against the pharmacy benefit managers and/or any other entities and their executives based upon their actions in improper fixing prices, engineering kickbacks, and engaging in other antitrust violations or other wrongdoings with respect to insulin and other diabetic medication. Mr. Chairman, I place this in the form of a motion.
Do I have a second, please? Second on Commissioner Hughes. Open for discussion. Commissioner Alford.
To make a substitute motion of that, please, that we allow that contract to be discussed more with the mayor and our lawyer, and because there's a lot of unknown questions still in that contract, so before we vote on it, I can make a substitute motion that we look at that contract and critique it a little better, and then maybe bring it back to us at a later date.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Rogers on the second. Open for discussion on the substitute motion. No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
No.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? It's 12 in favor, one opposed, and one absent.
Thank you. All right, that's substitute motion passed. We'll now go to agenda item C, public, we'll have a public hearing after Commissioner Hughes makes his opening statement. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution to rezone from rural residential district to general commercial or C2 district, property located at or around the 1175 block of Old Chattanooga Pike Southwest and identified by tax map 065 parcel 057.05. These can be seen on pages 45 and 46. The Bradley County Regional Planning Commission did unanimously vote to recommend the rezoning. I place that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we will now go into I guess we'll get a second, and I'll go into second on Commissioner Mason. We'll now go into a public hearing, on this rezoning request. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this request? There being no one, we will, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any further discussion from, there be Commissioner Alford, please?
Yes, when the planning commission met on this zoning, did they use the land use policy, or did they do without the land use policy on this particular zoning?
Yes. I will say that, yes, they used land use whenever they were doing that, and I can ask, well, he's shaking his head yes.
Is that it?
That's right now.
Okay. Any more discussion, please? Commissioner Blake.
Crystal, this land use plan is somewhat, I guess the simple question is, are they allowed to use this land use plan? We'll start there.
Yes. My understanding is that the land use plan being discussed is a document that has been adopted by the Planning Commission, and is used as a guide. I do not believe this commission has adopted the land use plan. So its function would be that of a guiding document for planning purposes.
I find it interesting that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, let me preface this. The Planning Commission acts as kind of like a committee or a board or something like that, and at the pleasure of the commission in a way, right? I mean, they make recommendations.
Yes, they make recommendations to you all with regard to requests to rezone property or to change zoning for the
I find it interesting that the Planning Commission uses a document to make decisions and make a recommendation, but the County Commission itself doesn't use this. Isn't that kind of contrary to what we're trying to accomplish? I mean, but you answered my question. They can use it. Commissioner Hughes, if you don't mind me saying, just said that they used the land use plan to make this recommendation. So we need to revisit this land use plan, I guess.
Well, the
if
County
we don't, or we need to
certainly-
adopt it, or, I mean.
You can.
This is
but-
what's confusing a lot of people, is that you
Yes.
have a board or a committee or a planning commission, whatever title you want to give them. But yet the county commission hasn't. That's what I've been asked at least 5 times.
Well, the simple answer is that you all certainly can adopt the plan or a different land use plan, but you do not have to.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Rogers and then Commissioner Alford, please.
when was the land use plan created, made? When was it come into play?
I am not 100% certain. Mr. Lewis has shown me a document that says 2011. I would need to research their minutes to know that for sure.
2004?
I can help you on that. Well,
2014.
2014 was when it was updated, the last update on it.
It may have been originally in 2011.
It was originally in 2011. 2011.
Commissioner Alford.
Yes. When did you say it was updated?
24.
It's been 20 years, 10 years ago. Who updated it? Does anyone answer that question?
Commissioner Alford, I wouldn't want to speak in knowing for sure without actually seeing Planning Commission minutes. It appears based on documents that it looks like it was 2014 and it would have been a document approved by the Planning Commission. But without researching the minutes, I don't want to give you unequivocal answers on that.
I have a problem with them being able to use that, and the county commission has never adopted the plan use. So to me, they're using something that we've never approved. I know it was adopted in 2011, was that originally, or 2004?
2011, and it looks like updated in 14, according to.
But it was adopted by the planning commission, only recommended by the steering committee, but it never was approved, I understand, by the steering committee.
I don't know the answer to that.
And it never came to us.
Well, it definitely, yeah, that's my understanding, is that you all did not approve it. But as I said, you don't have to, but you can. So there's nothing wrong, so to speak, with you all not approving it. But as I said, it's just a guiding document and a recommendation, because if you all haven't approved it, then you haven't said that that's land use that you've approved for the county. It's just a recommendation from the Planning Commission.
You know, I think I've been on the commission too many years probably, but I can't remember ever using it before up to just recent, last year or so, that it's ever even came up. I don't know how many times it's ever been used in the past. Of course, you can't tell me that. But I was wondering why all at once it's getting used all the time.
Well, I can't fully answer that. I can for sure answer that Bentley Thomas, who was the planner before Ron, definitely did consider the land use plan when making recommendations. And so the Planning Commission would have at least considered those things when they made a recommendation to you all. But as I said, you all are not considering that because it's just a recommendation from the Planning Commission that you all can choose to uphold or not uphold based on your decision and looking at the rezoning of the property based on the hearing, like what you all just had, the public hearing that's before this body.
Well, I guess my problem is that it's being used now a lot more than it ever was before, and it's not being used. It's being used, but it's never been recommended from the body up here or appointed by this body. You know, I think we really need to look at this land use plan, especially because it hadn't been updated in 10 years, and this county has grown gigantically in the last 10 years. So if it was up to me, I'd put a moratorium on the land use policy at all until we get an updated plan in place.
Regional Planning Commission comes under the mayor's jurisdiction, so that will be on his plate. Commissioner Rogers, then.
That was going to be my question. Is it's been 10 years since it's been updated. Lots changed in this county in 10 years, and it hadn't been updated. Is there a reason why that it hasn't been updated? Is there a reason? I mean, you'd figure this plan would change every handful of years, or it would be updated every couple of years to grow with the times and grow with the county. Just curious why why it hadn't been changed in 10 years.
Commissioner Hughes.
Not that I'd be a betting person, but I would imagine it would come down to funds. I couldn't imagine that it wouldn't, if it gets updated, it's going to cost some funds to have the research done and so on. So I would imagine that's probably what it's came down to. But we have many things that's older than 10 years that we still go by up here at this, sitting up at these seats. So if we're going to look at that, let's look at all of them.
Commissioner Collins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not to pour on or add any more confusion to it, but again, I appreciate Mr. Wilson. He's been great about communicating back and forth because I think I've had a lot of questions about this from different people, and I use this one all the time. But you know, my mom and dad, and they're the ones who'll call me and say, "Hey, tell me about this land use plan." And they live out in the country in the 1st District, and a lot of the conversations have been, you know, if we decided to sell, how could we locate where our property is and then make decisions about that property moving forward. And I thought that was a very fair point. You know, citizens deserve the opportunity for transparency and to be able to see if a decision was made in 2011 or 2013 by a governing body, where do they land and what does that process look like? So I asked Mr. Wilson, where's the map? And I think he and I and Commissioner Hughes were in on it, and there were several maps, and so it became which map do we look at? And I think there was verbiage that was changed, and language was different, and some was specific in terms of the language, but the map was like this is not disrespectful, but like a 6th grade geography assignment, you know, with the thick markers, and some of the maps didn't have roads, and so there was just a lack of clarity. And I think I'd like to echo Commissioner Alford and Commissioner Rogers. I think clarity is a big deal for our community, and this is going to be the prevalent issue for us moving forward in the next 10, 20 years, property and zoning and annexation. And so we better have a clear vision of what that is. We better be able to communicate with our constituents about where their land stands and what the process is for this is their land, and if they want to appeal that. These are conversations that we need to have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Thompson, please.
I don't know exactly where y'all coming from, but, you know, when you ask for a rezoning, of course, that's when the signs go up on the property, is what kind of zoning you want. And usually that's where the questions come from. In that area or whatever, they say, what zone for what? And so it's kind of self-explanatory if they're putting signs up when they ask for zone rechange or whatever, and that's what the planning commission does, I reckon. So
I guess an example of that would be this, the property, the Michigan Avenue property with the Calfees. So I just imagine, I go back to that and I imagine, he looked at the map or didn't have the opportunity to look at the map and to see, if this was going to be an issue, then perhaps the conversation would have not gotten to where it went to. So I think if our citizens can know on the front end by looking at a map, if we even use a map, and I'm not advocating one or the other, but if we are, we need to clearly identify the map and say, hey, these are the rules and the specs. And if we're not, we need to make sure we clear the specs there. That way, we don't want to get accused of politics or it's who you know or it's who's buying it or who's selling it. We want it to have very clear lanes and have a very identifiable policy so we can stay out of all that. I think that was my question. I agree with you, Mr. Howard, Commissioner Howard. That's 100% right. But I think forecasting and saying, hey, what might happen with my property or what could I do with my property? I think that's the question. I want to look at a map and see what a body in 2011 designated my land to be, if that makes sense.
Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Hughes.
If I ever agreed with anyone, it'd be Commissioner Collins. I do believe that there should be a future site somewhere that we shouldn't have to search everywhere to find out information. With Commissioner Collins and myself, it took a lot of work to find just that information. But once I found it, it was one of those things, I had it. But our citizens themselves, there should be a transparency to where before they sell a property, they should be able to look at a map and say, okay, this is where I'm zoned and this is the land use agreement here. This is what I can do with it. So I do agree with you on that 100%.
Commissioner Blake.
Well, on that same note, if a citizen looks at that plan and it's not kind of what they're looking for, can they petition to have the land use plan changed?
I don't know
So they can get the rezoning?
I couldn't answer the question for you.
I agree. I think we need to visit the land use plan. Obviously, 10 years with the amount of growth we've seen, how many annexations out there now, the city of Cleveland's little islands out there in Bradley County. And if it costs money, then Commissioner Hughes will appropriate it. And if there's other maps that needed to be looked at, we'll appropriate that. So with that, Mayor, it was just mentioned that the Planning Commission falls under your review. What would be the steps if we funded a relook or rehab or what's the word? Overhaul of the plan, and who would be responsible for that? I mean, I don't think you would want the 14 of us on there, maybe one or two, but the experts on that.
I look back there at Ron. I guess what he would need to do is find out who could do it and what the estimated cost would be, and then bring that to this body to see you can approve the funding of it, updating so-and-so plans. They've got several. You could get into updating a lot of plans, and they're pretty much tools they use to make recommendations, because they know that you're not necessarily tied to go by any of those plans. You're going to listen to the community and what they want and so forth. But
I would say
we can ask Ron to get the cost and.
I would. We need to bring that to another committee or whatever. But I would say that if we do spend money, funds, and get a plan then the county commission should adopt it, and we use it accordingly. Which means we better sharpen our pencils and make sure we do it right. Crystal, one quick question. If the county has a land use plan, or the planning commission does, and say owner wants to request rezoning, it gets denied, the county commission goes with it. then they request annexation through the city. And that annexation, then the rezoning that they requested is approved because they have different land use plans, whatever. That can be done, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Once a property
So
is.
we're not consistent to a certain degree.
Well, I mean, once a property is annexed, it's no longer subject to the county zoning, it would be subject to city zoning. So, once it's annexed, the property is out of our jurisdiction, so to speak, with regard to, enforcing zoning. So, yes, then it would follow under the city guidelines.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, let's try to pull this thing back into where we started at here. We had a 5-0 or 7-0 vote unanimous on the planning commission
Yes.
for this to be approved. Having been past chairman of the planning commission and Bentley Thomas was the planner, I can assure you that Bentley Thomas always came to the commission with a recommendation, having used what they have. And we should always remember, we as the commission, this might be good that we haven't approved it, because we can override the thing anytime we want to.
That's the point.
Let's see, any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alford,
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson,
Yeah.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you very much. Agenda item D, Commissioner Mike Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution to rezone from forestry agricultural residential district to rural commercial or C1 to general industrial I1 district property located at or around 1198 51st Street Northeast, identified by tax map 035J, Group C, parcel 016.00. These can be seen on pages 47 and 78. I put that in form of motion. The Bradley County Regional Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend the rezoning, and yes, it falls within the land use.
We will now go into a public hearing on this rezoning request. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this request? Can you come up to the mic, sir? For those of you who are like me, we have no idea where 51st Street is northeast. Can you help us on that too?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm Mitchell Kinder. I'm here representing Tri-State Warehouse, the owner of the property. It's occupied by Tri-State Trust under lease, which has been there since the 1970s. 51st Street is just off of Old Tasso Place, formerly Old Tasso Road. Not too far from it's not contiguous to it, but not too far from the Tasso United Methodist Church. And it joins Tri-State Warehouse's property. I would entertain if you've got any questions of me.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Kinder? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else that would like to address the commission for or against? The public hearing is now closed. We got a motion from Commissioner Hughes. Did we get a second?
No, sir.
Second on Commissioner Thompson. Open for discussion from the commission. No discussion. Discussion closed. Call the roll, please.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
It's 13 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent.
Thank you. We'll now go to communication from the audience. I'll recognize anyone that would like to speak. You are limited to 5 minutes. Please do not address any of the commissioners by name. We got 2 people from Mr. Ledford, please.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before. Mr. Whaley, thank you for coming, and Mr. Woodward, thank y'all for coming. I want to apologize to you guys. For y'all have to sit here over an hour. I apologize.
Go ahead, sir.
Ma'am, gentlemen, my name's Ronnie Whaley. I live at 3790 Truett Road. That's my property. As I understand it, the SPCA is trying to locate a new building there housing dogs. I can't imagine how that's going to positively affect my property value. That property is zoned residential at this point, and they're going to have to apply for a rezoning, which is what you guys have been talking about quite a bit tonight. I bought that property 8 years ago. I wouldn't have bought it if there was a dog pound located next door. I can't imagine in the future that my rental property, the value is going to hold the same, my rent, or if I try to sell the property, my resale value is not going to go down. So I guess I'm asking you to consider the locals that live in that area, whether it's the noise, the odor. Again, I can't think of anything that's positive about rezoning that property. I checked 8 years ago when I bought the property. It was the old Waterville School, and it was zoned residential. I had no idea that it would come up for rezoning after I've bought the property. So again, I'm asking you, please, here's what I would suggest. If you lived in my neighborhood, would you vote to have it rezoned? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you. Sir, have you ever been to McCamey Animal Shelter in Chattanooga? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen how nice it is and how really when you're outside, it's actually really quiet, and in the community that it is, where there is housing and development around there as well?
I'm going to say no, because when I walk in, there's dogs yelping and barking. When they go outside to run, to show the dogs, their dogs doing what dogs do.
Yeah.
They're barking. So on my back deck, I won't be able to entertain from the same noises that I'm experiencing in other places. No, absolutely not. My friends won't be able to be entertained on the back porch. My tenant has already said that she'll give it a try. But if the noise or the smells are so bad, she goes, I'll have to leave.
So is it property that you own and live there, or is it property that you own and rent?
Both.
So
I have lived there, and now
it's a rental
It's a rental.
property for you?
Yes.
Does the people who live there currently, do they have animals?
No. Well, she has a cat.
Has a cat.
Yeah, no dogs.
Perfect. This shelter would be for dogs and cats.
Cats don't bark.
Yeah. Commissioner Slater, please.
Do you support private property owners' rights to do what they want to with their property?
That's I haven't thought about that. On the surface, I would say yes, but then you also have to answer to the neighborhood. I wouldn't. Well, your job as zoning would dictate some of that answer, but as a good neighbor, I'm not saying that I'm going to. For instance, I have an acre lot there. I wouldn't go buy 2 cows and put there. I wouldn't do it. Now, do I want to eat the beef? Do I want the milk? Sure. But because of where my house is located, I don't think that would be right. I wouldn't do it.
Thank you.
Anyone else before?
What was your address, sir?
3790 Truett Road. As you come around the curve there on Truett Road, I'm the the little blue house right there on the corner with the white fence. So I would be the first house, as I understand the project, located by their parking lot.
And you're using it as a rental house right now?
I am at this point, yes.
Okay. I was going around the corner, the first house on your left, if you could come, I'm in front of the fire station, first house on the left. Who owns that one?
Down by the fire station?
Yeah, on the left.
I don't know.
I thought it was a rental house too.
I don't know. I know there are rental properties there. I know that there are privately owned homes there. I'm up on the other end from the fire hall. The fire hall is down by.
You're up
the
by
golf
Miss
course.
McGill, Miss McClure's apartments?
Are those the ones right across the street from my house? Those like the high rises?
No, the duplexes.
The little duplexes. Yeah,
There's
but they're
one on
upstairs.
both sides of the road.
No, I'm right across from. There's like 4 or 6 duplexes. Well, they're not duplex. They're higher. They're. I don't know the terminology. They're upstairs.
How
downstairs.
far would you say you're from the property that we're talking about?
My property butts up to that property. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Hughes, please.
we have spoke a lot about the land use map tonight. Your property that we're talking about right now is the reason we're talking about that, because if you look at that map, it can only be used for residential. So that's the elephant in the room.
That's what?
That's the elephant in the china shop. Thank you. Anyone else for the gentleman? Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Is there anyone else, Commissioner Bedford? You had two. Mr. Wooten, please.
Mr. Woodward, and yes, all these folks are associated. I know everybody knows Miss Wooten, and she has several people that are objective to this. And it's my job as their commissioner to let them come up here and speak, no matter how they choose to speak and what they have to say is perfectly fine with me. Whether it offends anybody up here or not, I really don't care.
That's the opportunity why we have 5 minutes where the public can speak. That's their right, our right to sit here and our business to sit here and listen to them. Go ahead, sir.
Chairman, all the members of the board here. I'm Paul Woodward. I live at 3211 Nottingham Circle, which is over on the circle where that Lake Forest Middle School is at. I've lived there for 40 years. You know, there's been a lot of changes going on in Bradley County. I mean, you know, I've worked on farms, you know, and things, and we see that going by the wayside. And, you know, whenever we come in and we, just like the planning commission said, you know, this is residential property and you can change, you know, if you want to change your property, you can try, you can go before the committees and ask for rezoning and all that. But, you know, down there, I believe that we have a lot of older folks that do live down in that area. And, Mr. McClure and a lot of the people down in there, their families, you know, they've been there for years. And I just don't think that right there would be a good move for the SPCA to be there. You know, to me, if they've got property where they're at, why don't they look at doing something there? If you recall, back years ago, where the city dog pound is now, it was located right across from the dump. Well, that right there made it easy for any disposals of animals to be taken right across the road. Well, why can't they put it out at the landfill? You know, is there property out there? I'm sure there probably is. And all that we're asking is, you know, that people to consider, for you all to consider that. And and just as Mr. Whaley said, would you want that to be right beside you or right down the road from you? We have a lot of noise anyway coming from the traffic over there on Dalton Pike at all times of the night. People drag racing and the such. And yeah, I know that there's a fire hall over there. We hear the ambulances and the fire trucks, you know, and that's just part of it. But, you know, I don't believe that we ought to be subjected to the animals and just have to be taken, you know, that be put into our neighborhood whenever that's not really what it's supposed to be over there. And I just respectfully ask for each and every one of us to consider that and to vote, if it comes down to the vote, that you would put yourself in our place. And we want our property to stay just like it is now. I mean, we don't want any decrease in property value, just the same as none of you all would.
Commissioner Rogers would like to ask you a question.
Have you ever been to the McCamey Animal Shelter in Chattanooga before?
Yes, sir. I've been down by there. Yes.
Have you been to the shelter, inside it, adopted a pet, been inside, taken a dog, anything like that?
No, I've not adopted no pets. But there again, you need to look at that. There is a lot of industry down there too, in that area.
Is there a lot of industry in that area as well? A Walmart less than a half a mile away? Is there
Walmart? We don't hear the Walmart traffic.
But is there industry in the area as well? Is the question. Is there businesses in that area?
Well, there's
Dollar General store down there.
Anyone else with a question for the gentleman? Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your speaking. Mr. Ledford, were those the only two, sir?
Yes, sir, as far as I know. Thank you,
Okay.
Paul. Thank you, Mr. Wiley.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak before the commission? Okay, if not, we'll now go to announcements. The next meeting is work session February the 12th at 12 p.m. Bradley County Courthouse. Upcoming events, Broadband Initiative Ad Hoc February the 7th, 10:30 a.m. here at the courthouse. Bradley County Board of Education meeting February the 8th at 5:30 p.m. at the central office. Landfill Committee February the 12th at 11 a.m. Bradley County Courthouse. Road Department Committee meeting 1 p.m. February the 22nd, and I did not get the location, sir. Commissioner Mason, location. It will be conducted at the Road